This is the CT Sports Talent Show. My name is Chris Saunders, and I'm pleased to have on with me from the Granby boys baseball program, or just baseball in general. Pleased to have on with me TJ May, who's a catcher. He'll be going to Messiah in the fall, and he may be playing potentially another position. We'll be talking about that later on. But TJ, I appreciate you coming on, man. This will be good.
Thank, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's one of those things because I played baseball for basically up and through college, and I was a pitcher mainly, play a little bit of outfield, first base, mainly pitcher. So it's always good to be able to have on a catcher, which you play, which is awesome. So I'm going to be picking your brain throughout our conversations. But
Perfect.
the game of baseball itself, is that the only sport that you kind of grew up on, or did you play multiple sports?
So growing up, like baseball was always the number one,
Mhm.
but I also played soccer and basketball growing up.
Yeah.
I played soccer through my senior year of high school actually, but then I stopped playing basketball my freshman year, just try to get the winter to focus on baseball.
Interesting. So you had the opportunity to play for Wally, Coach Hanson a
Yeah,
little.
I did. I did.
How like when I think about that, right? Because you played for Dombrowski, Mike, who told me about you, right?
Mhm.
Then you had the opportunity to be able to play for Coach Hanson, right? And now you play for Mike again for baseball and such. So you've been able to kind of be around some pretty respectable coaches. Obviously, Coach Hanson with what he's done with the boys basketball program in and of itself is really cool. So what's your
Yeah.
take on that?
I mean, I would say I'm very grateful for the coaches I've been around. I know having Coach Dombrowski and Coach Hanson, it's very special to me having those relationships and also seeing how different coaches work. It's
Mhm.
like a good because they're very two well-respected coaches, but I also say they coach in different ways. So it's good knowing like what kind of coach fits you the best and also be able to adapt to different coaches.
Now, when you were kind of coming through the ranks before you got to Granby and before you started playing, obviously basketball for a year, soccer for four, and then obviously baseball throughout the 4 years. Um, when did you start to realize that baseball was your kind of your bread and butter?
I'll be honest, freshman year, I felt very confident with where I was with baseball, but
Mhm.
I would also be the first to admit that I also wasn't fully there. So I wasn't really fully aware of where I was at, but I did feel confident. I would definitely say the jump going to freshman to sophomore year that winter, I realized that I gained a lot more weight. I was spending a lot more time in the cage, and I realized that this could be a good future for me.
As you were kind of going through your freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, I know obviously right now you could take 1,000 swings and you're good probably maybe a day or two later and you're not going to feel sore. But as you
Mhm.
start to mature, right? I mean, I remember even when I was in high school, I was around guys that were telling me and telling a lot of us, keep as pitchers, right? You want to keep the bullets in your arm. You want to keep as much as you can. Same thing for batters for swinging because I mean the body's only made for so many swings. So
Yeah.
for you, how are you able to kind of compact that and kind of take the motto of less is more, if that makes sense?
I just make sure not to take like even if it's off the tee, don't take a swing for granted. Every
Mhm.
swing is a good way to work on your technique, but also every bad swing you do is also a way to take away from your technique. So I
Mhm.
just make sure before every tee or front toss, I really take my time and I set in to try and make my swings as like productive and valuable as they are, and not take a swing off.
Now, as far as the catching aspect is concerned, when did you become the full-time varsity catcher?
My sophomore year, I took over.
Okay, so and I don't, this is why having you here to be able to tell me when did the staff with Brad and Dombrowski and such, when did they feel comfortable enough with you calling a game?
I'll right my sophomore year, right away, I started calling the game. I was very fortunate to have our ace pitcher. I was able to work with him all the winter, so I got to really get into his head and realize like this is what you have to call at the varsity level, like the locations. So I was able to kind of build off that momentum and try to gain the trust of my other teammates and my coaches kind of through him.
Do you think that through your ace at the time, if he trusted you, then it was kind of like, okay, if this guy likes him, then we're all going to like him in that sense. Is that kind of how it was?
Oh, 100%. I mean, going into that year, I was like kind of a freshman year. I'll admit my technique wasn't the best, and so like I said prior, like that winter, I really just broke everything down, worked on it.
Mhm.
So just knowing that I don't know if you know his name, Josh Sealander.
No, I don't know him.
Oh, he plays up at Bridgewater State now. But just knowing that like he was able just to trust me and kind of having all the other seniors and also juniors at that time, just seeing that like if our ace can trust me, then they could be able to trust me. So
You
it
know,
was definitely
the one thing that I will say, and I think, and I've said this too, because I was able to broadcast the Granby game for on the girls basketball side when they played against St. Paul. They were down in my neck of the woods in the NVL, and
Mhm.
Coach D'Angelo has done such a great job with the girls program for so many years, right? And I always tell him, and I've told Dombrowski and such when I met and had conversations with Mike during the soccer season. The NCCC does not get a lot of attention. I don't know if it's because of the spacious programs. I don't know if it's, we were talking about summers, obviously. The farther you get away from, I feel like Hartford, Fairfield County, you kind of lose track of people and teams. But there's a lot of talent in the NCCC. There is.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. For example, today I faced, I don't know if you know his name, James Fagnet. He's going D1 to University of Richmond, and it's just I do face a lot better talent than I think people do assume. But I would say it's just kind of because how far like we're all kind of in the corner of the state. Like obviously the teams closer to the center and more south are more known for their baseball and like known for having better players. So I
Mhm.
think kind of all the attention might go to them at first, and it kind of makes it a little bit harder for it to reach up north where we are.
Now, when you and your teammates kind of are going into that every season, and I know you don't have social media, but I know some of your teammates probably do. Is that kind of discussed while you're on the bus ride to Summers or East Granby or East Windsor or whatever?
Yeah, most definitely. I would say, especially last year, I know a couple people felt like they might have been snow, like they felt like they should maybe had all state or like more like be recognized a little bit more, just based on seeing other people's stats and kind of comparing it to their own and trying to break down the numbers. I definitely feel like people look at what comes out as like NCCC's top 25 players to watch. I definitely feel like a lot of kids around this area feel like they don't get the recognition when it comes to that stuff based on what they see that other people are getting the recognition for.
Now, how are you able to kind of go back to the compact side as far as with the swings and such? How are you able to kind of just stay focused on one lane and not try to get your mind out? Not having social media, you're already ahead of the game against probably 99% of the state and probably most of the country. How are you able to kind of just kind of keep things going forward and not get pressured into kind of going with the trend? You know what I mean?
I would say a big part of it's also kind of my personality. I'm very devoted to what I do. I might not like so like I'm not really the type to just go out and just try something new. If I like something, I'm devoted to and that gets all my attention.
Mhm.
So whether like I do like soccer at the time, like I was very devoted for soccer. So like I would just train for soccer instead of maybe going out, hanging out with friends or um just kind of taking the day off. Especially now with baseball where I see where I'm going. It's just I also have the mentality is like if I'm not working hard, then someone else is working more hard. And I don't like the feeling of knowing that I'm not pushing myself to the fullest.
Is there certain things that you kind of set forth from obviously when you played varsity full time your sophomore year and then through junior year, entering senior year now? Were there things that you wanted to work on every year, and what were they?
Definitely going sophomore to junior year, it was more just getting used to the off speed. I've always the fastball was never really an issue for me. I guess like freshman year JV, I didn't really see any good off speed. So going into that sophomore year, I was very like my hands were flying through the zone on the off speed and I was able to sit back. So I just took a lot of time my sophomore junior year just making sure I get comfortable and used to the off speed, just recognizing the pitch out of the pitcher's hand. Then I would say definitely my sophomore to my junior year, I worked on just getting that power. It's just I had the smooth swing. Now it's all kind of just playing together and just making sure I really drive the ball and just kind of have that exit velo just look a little more special on my at bat. But that's offensive wise.
Now, the one thing that I've noticed throughout my conversations with various hitters throughout the time I've been doing this podcast is a lot of times young hitters have a hard time picking up not so much the velocity of which the ball is coming in, but they're not seeing the spin. And I know
Yeah,
obviously you can't have Juan Soto's eyes, which is what 2020, 21, whatever it is, where you can
yeah,
literally see the seams of the ball as it's coming towards you. That's like a God-given thing. I mean, nobody has that except for if yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying. But the
yeah.
point is, is are you having trouble with the velocity part of the off speed, or is it picking up the spin per se? Because a curveball and a changeup slider, sweeper, whatever they want to call it, there's different spins and drops such to it.
I would definitely say it's more of the spin, just more of the movement. Because the big part for me was there was times I was able to hold back and stay on the off speed, but it would just be a foul tip straight back, whether it's me just not getting that extra concentration of knowing the movement,
Mhm.
like maybe not picking up the difference between a curveball or a slider, because it was break two completely opposite. So it
Mhm.
was more just like foul tips and staying alive instead of just being able to actually drive the off speed and hit it for like a good like single up the middle or top opposite field.
Now, have you kind of added, and I don't know if you have yet, it may not make much of a difference at the high school level. Obviously, college with you being at Messiah next fall, and then who knows as far as what could happen after that. You may have to incorporate this more. But the pitch framing aspect, right? Until there's an automatic strike zone and we have umpires, you can try to steal strikes and try to frame things and make it look better. I don't know if you're a Yankee fan. I go back to them because they do such a great job, with Trevino. Austin Wells is getting better at it, but Trevino is like a magician. Higgy was great at it too. Is that something you've added to your game, or have you not really thought about that? Does it come naturally to you?
I would say that's definitely something I added. I know definitely sophomore year I wasn't the best framer. It was I kind of just added small techniques of maybe starting my glove on the dirt and bringing it up through the zone instead of having to like drop my glove back down then back up. It's just small little changes like that I kind of adapted throughout like high school and just now it's all coming together and I would say it's paid off and it's pretty more effective now.
No, I'm sure you talk to various pitchers. I'm sure some say just set up in the middle and then just let my ball do its thing. Others probably say I don't like you moving as much around the plate delivery, sending the ball down to home plate.
Mhm.
For you, what is more comfortable with you behind the plate? Do you like to move before the pitch is delivered, or do you want to wait until the last second just so you're not tipping off to the batter?
Um, I would really depends on the situation. I would say definitely if there's no runners on, then I'm not moving as much back there. I would say I'm a lot more just one knee, your basic, just make sure you frame the ball good, hold it for a strike. But I would say when there's runners on, I might be more on my toes. I might be a little more active back there. But I also try to keep in mind, make sure I don't tip any pitches when doing it, and I'm kind of in the same, like I do it the same like kind of way every time. So that way if they hear like my back knee drop, they don't know it's gonna be a curveball. Like make sure like maybe I drop my back knee every time or I move to a certain area every single time.
Now, are you I don't know if you've watched any catchers growing up, if you kind of idolize. I know obviously Buster Posey for the longest time,
Yeah.
he was able to do both. I mean, he even pitched the Florida State. I remember one game he played all nine positions. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. Um, are you kind of like more like Posey as far as behind the plate? Are you like Pudge or Yachty, where they're more there? There's a lot of energy. I know Contreras, both the Contreras brothers are very energetic behind the plate. They're constantly moving back and forth. They're on one knee. They're tapping their glove. They're hitting the dirt. They're doing everything. Are you like that, or are you like the latter?
I would say I'm definitely energetic back there. I constantly found myself like tapping my glove, just trying to make a little noise, just let the infield know what's happening, get my pitcher up. I'm definitely like just kind of back there getting some energy up and just moving around, switching my catching stance and just trying to be more versatile back there.
I want to ask you about, Coach Brad, and I was telling you about how when I was growing up, I idolized him, but not for sports, but for his profession at the time, which was being a meteorologist. And it's so cool that he's able to kind of give back to Granby, to the high school. And I know he
Yeah.
loves baseball. So how is it having him and Coach Dombrowski on the staff?
I love it. I would definitely say as of now, they're my two favorite coaches I've ever had. I definitely know I wouldn't be the baseball player I am without them. I would definitely them having Coach Dombrowski just give me that chance sophomore year and not second guessing with his decision. That
Mm.
definitely just gave me a lot of confidence. Just having him know that like I might make mistakes, and him just knowing that I am going to make mistakes, and him just being able to trust me and let me figure it out for myself. And as for Coach Fields, just he's such an uplifting guy. He's so positive. Just knowing if I do strike out or I do make a play, I'm gonna go back to that dugout and still get a hug from him. Just to like keep my head up, stay positive, which really does have a big effect when you are having an off day. Just knowing that your coaches still believe in you and they still trust who you are and they still have full confidence.
Do you think committing to Messiah when you did, and I'm assuming it was before the season, so with doing that, do you think that kind of gave you now, it kind of clears your mind, right? I mean, baseball, I've always believed, and I've heard it from many people, 90% mental, 10% physical. So the less you got in
Yes.
your mind and your noggin, the better that you're going to perform, they say.
Yeah. I would definitely say that's true. I definitely felt like junior year, I felt a lot more pressure to try to keep my stats up or try to get a better hit. I still have that like put that own pressure myself, but I kind of felt it a little bit more trying because I know I was trying to get recruited, and it was just like every at bat, this is the opportunity to send a good video to a coach.
Mhm.
And it was just I did feel a lot of pressure just trying to make sure I was like on point every single time. Like, because when I did know there were scouts in the stands, it was just, all right, this is your shot. You better do this. But like as of now, going to my senior year, I'm very grateful to be committed, and I still put that same pressure on myself. But also at the end of the day, it's I'm committed. And I'm very happy with where I'm going. So now it's just a time to have fun, enjoy my last season with my team, and just I'm obviously I want to have a very good season. But if that doesn't happen, just be very grateful for the high school season I did have, and just enjoy the last year with them.
Now, what made you choose Messiah over the other potential options?
I would definitely say it was I went down there for a visit and I just saw the way the players rallied around the coach and the coach rallied around the players. And I just seen so my coach, he was, do you know the Savannah Bananas?
Oh yeah, yep.
My coach in college, he actually coached them for a year.
Are you
So
serious?
yeah, he coached the Savannah Bananas for a summer. And so I went down there on my visit and I just saw all of them playing banana ball and just seeing like how close the guys were and just seeing the smiles and how highly they talked of each other and how highly they talked of the coach. Even if the coach wasn't around, you would
Mm.
still only hear positive things about Coach Phil. And I just loved knowing that I'm going to a place next year where they're willing to take me in. And it's just a great environment for me to be around.
See, I think that's the biggest thing is it's one thing if you're around and people are saying stuff. A lot of times you may end up hearing just what you want to hear just so they don't say anything. But I think the most important thing is, and I this is also kind of morbid too, but when you pass on from this life, what people say about you when you're gone or not in a room really kind of speaks volumes to the person that you are. Same thing applies for this coach. When he's not around or he's maybe not at practice yet, if players are saying good things that bodes well, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. I remember I had an overnight after my first visit. And there was other recruits on the overnight, and we were kind of just talking about what the team's like, because you just want to kind of know what the players' view of like what they think of it.
Yeah.
And just knowing like they just didn't say one single bad thing about my coach or any of the assistant coaches or even about the school in general, just like how uplifting, how positive they were about everything. And it's also, I loved it just the connection I made with that coach initially, because I realized during my recruitment process, a lot of it was just like them just trying to get the best roster possible. It didn't really feel like a personal connection. It was more of them just wanting me just like for like the best player.
Mhm.
But I definitely realized I stuck out with this coach, his willingness to like just check in on me throughout my season.
Mhm.
Like for an example, on Easter, he checked in on my family. He called me just wishing like happy Easter, hope you're having a good day. Tell your family I say hi. And like that was a big thing that just stuck out with me, just his willingness to make that connection with his players and how even if like you might not be starting right away, he still treats you equally and he still is wanting to build that relationship with you.
That is something like that goes a long way if you're trying to sell your program, and he sold you, it sounds like for sure.
100%. I'm so excited to get down there.
Hey, TJ, appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. I apologize you guys couldn't get the win today, but there's still
It's
plenty,
all
plenty
good.
other games. Hopefully, Mother Nature won't be too mean to everybody for baseball and softball. And thankfully, with your game being on Friday, hopefully things can kind of dry or in some cases melt with potential snow.
Let's
But
hope.
hey, best of luck as far as this season. Hopefully maybe I can get you back on before you head over to your college in the fall, and we can kind of do a little bit of a preview as far as going into your freshman year. But keep
I would
rocking,
love
kid.
to.
Keep killing it. Be well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Always. I'll wrap things up in the CT Sports Talent Show. So next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm Jerry. Find them all. Enjoy the shit, everybody, and be well.